What's going on, Cougar Nation? We got our head coach. America, we got him. Let's welcome Kirby Moore into the Palouse. I'm excited for this, but let's let this video ride first. Like I said, fellas, finally got our guy. We were only had to wait a week, which was good. I know when we talked, we all huddled last. We just said it had to happen quick. You love to see that Cantwell came in. She did exactly what she said she was going to do. She was going to get somebody with that we felt like had those local ties, can get Cougar Nation behind them, has that NIL perspective. But first, I wanted to just welcome a special guest. We got Cougar Carlson with Fieldhouse Report joining us. Mighty by many, and I know, Cougar Carlson, you're excited just like we are. I want your perspective on Kirby Moore. People have already kind of heard our thing, but yeah, man, let's talk.
Yeah, I think, for me, this is definitely a coaching hire that was a must. Hiring someone with offense, because the likes of, the last two coaching hires we've had, Jake Dickert, and obviously our most recent departure, which I will not name at this point, but
Said to me.
Both defensive coaches. I think just having that offensive mindset is going to be something that Cougar Nation really needs to get behind right now. And that's something that we've just desperately needed. That's going to get more of the fans in the seats. And with the likes of his dynamic play calling and the pedigree that he's been around throughout his career, he's going to bring a new sense of enthusiasm to the Palouse. And I'm really excited to watch what he can do.
Fired up.
I agree. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, the offense is what we're starving for. We're craving. This year was a little tough to watch at times. Obviously, installing a completely different offense than we're used to on the Palouse. We're going to hear a little bit more of the balance thing again, too. But you also want to look at Missouri. They ran the ball a ton. They ran the ball a lot. And they had the pieces, and that makes sense. Love to get somebody's thoughts on maybe what that looks like from a running perspective. Somebody.
All right. Nosey, you love talking offense. Get it going.
So, and we kind of talked about, like at a high level, the big thing that I heard was, number one rushing offense in the SEC, which, it's like, that is awesome. But if you dig a little deeper, they're also dead last in passing. And if you look at the 2 years prior, they were kind of eighth, ninth in passing and rushing. They also had a really good quarterback. And Brady Cook, and congrats to Brady Cook for his first touchdown today. But that's kind of where what offense are we getting? Are we going to get the 2023-24 version, which Missouri had 10 and 11 wins respectively? Or are we going to get kind of this year where and I think the silver lining with it is he still had an 8-win season in the SEC, still very much competitive, with a quarterback that was not as, offensively savvy as Brady Cook was the 2 years that he was at the helm. So for me, it's Kirby bringing in a quarterback that can help us really elevate. I don't think it's on the roster today, unfortunately. So that's going to be, and I don't know if Kirby brings somebody in. But I think beyond all that, he's a great hire. He's got the Northwest ties, which I think was a massive checkbox that needed to be made. And someone that, we can't predict if he's here for 3 years, 3 months, or 3 decades. But I think having those ties to the area, I'm going to feel confident that he wants to build something here. He's got his family in the background. I'm excited. Again, there's just a lot of questions, but there'd be really any questions if it was any higher. So, but he's coming with an SEC pedigree, offensively savvy. I mean, you're coming from, his time with Boise State, Chris Peterson. I mean, that guy is an absolute mad scientist. So, good lineage. He's shown that he can build quarterbacks. He can develop an offense and hopefully build a culture here that we can continue to support and be excited for year in, year out.
Yeah, this offense being pretty power balanced, right? Like the running back, I think they ran for 1,500 yards, and then they had a good amount of wide receivers that tapped into their offense, along with one that really kind of stretched it out with 700 plus yards. A lot to like with his offense, but going back to Kirby Moore in general, we got a guy from Prosser, Washington. We got a guy who has local ties. Like, that's huge. That's it doesn't really get much better than that. It's hard to find somebody from the Northwest that wants to, or that has the pedigree. Everything kind of matches for that person to be the perfect hire for Wazoo. It happened this time. We landed him. I would imagine that conversation with Cantwell and with Harlow and everybody in the athletic department circled around, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? What is the goal for you? And also, Wazoo's problem. Financially, we're a little bit behind some of these other schools, including the schools that are already going to be in the Pac-12 next year. We're already financially behind them in NIL. What's your goal there? What's the alumni outreach going to look like? I would imagine a lot of that was tossed over to who was the guy? I can't remember his name. He's gone now. I would imagine a lot of that stuff was tossed over to Jimmy, and Jimmy probably didn't like that. It probably wasn't on his task to do. He was more of a, I'm here to win, and that's it. Which, don't get me wrong, that's good, but also there's more to this. It's getting the ties from the community back into this, because once you do that, most of us here went to Wazoo. Most of us that are from Wazoo understand what that culture means when you have the buy-in from everybody, including the athletic department. So us as fans are looking for the athletic department to be tapped in, and then they're looking for us. So it was just kind of a mutual thing. And I think Kirby Moore is going to be the guy that gets it done.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting too. I think it was an interview or a quote from Jack Thompson, referencing when they actually were interviewing for that pass position, when they actually hired Rodgers. It seemed like Kirby was actually in the final. He was in the kind of like the final choices, probably took second in that decision. So that's maybe why this came together quickly. It'll be interesting to see just overall what happens with this recruiting class, what happens with the guys that are currently on campus, who's going to stick around. Joel, I love to hear your thoughts. Defensive guys, give me, I know this has been tough for you.
I don't want to be past tense. I said it last week, right?
Bob, it's your guy. I know I'm going to say this. We can talk about it, but he's not sticking around. He's going to Iowa State. So give me some dudes that you love on that defense that haven't gone in the portal yet. What's your pitch to them?
Yes. I'd be happy. I'll have it too as a pitch, because there's two awesome fellas that I'm gonna zoom in on. There's so many though. You're all valuable. If you happen to watch this channel, please see what's happening, because I think, Gavin, you talked about it. Oh, what's this gonna look like? Is it over the next decade or what have you? But I think just zoomed in for the year, your next year is gonna be vital. You've already proven yourself. Pac-12 is happening here. It's becoming real. Stay. We have a lot of opportunity here. It's fresh for the picking, and I want to be able to keep that present tense instead of past tense. That's what we call defense. We're keeping that going. So I would say it's two individuals. Slimgen. I always say his last name funny. He was our true freshman this year, right? I think he had his first start actually in the win versus Toledo, and in those starts that he's had, he stood out. He became the top 7 for tackles in the team. I just want to run through real quick. He has some production, which I love just to see. And a true freshman, it's wild to see in a linebacker position. But being able to total out, he had 18 solo tackles, 25 assists with a total of 43. And I say he's going to be necessary for us to at least continue what we were doing on defense. The other one, no surprise, I'm sure.
Joel, but he's a Sioux Fall guy. He's South Dakota. He's going to Iowa State.
Yeah, but I understand. But he's here now.
Midwest. It might be tough.
It would be tough. And I realize that my concern is that of those that beat him out, 5 of them were seniors, right? And the 6th person, it was Anthony Polano, who, best wishes to him. I know he has plans to transfer, but it's stellar individuals like them that we need to help create the core of what the defense needs to be. Just that get after that ass, get to the ball. Everybody swarm like wild bees. Like I don't want that to disappear. And I don't know if it's Bobbitt or whoever's going to insert, for DC, but please, I think he's necessary. And then the other person, I won't go on a long rant, is Isaac Terrell. Again, no surprise, his defensive line. But he's one that he's number one in all categories for the D line. And I mean, he stepped up in games that mattered, games like Ole Miss. Just watching what he did, I shared in our group chat a little clip, and we can play it later. But there's moments like that, like I zoom in and see those moments, and like that's what needs to continue to happen. I complained in the beginning of the season about like, oh, we need to be better at setting the edge and like being smart in our passing lanes integrity and like how we tackle, and that all happened. It all became real very quickly after North Texas or whatever, doesn't matter. But
we got past that.
Right, we got past that moment, a little UW moment. But outside of that, it's just those two, I think, will be vital in like what it is that we claim to be as a defense. Because yes, I would love us to actually have an offense, but I don't want to lose at least as much as possible. I don't want to lose what we have with our defense. And I will say, I looked at bits and pieces for recruiting from our offense, but I do feel more hopeful with someone like Kirby Moore that he will be able to recruit in those that we need. And I think that seeing what he did with Mizzou, I think our running backs is probably one of our key position groups. I think they're more likely to stick around seeing someone like him come in. So like, I'm hoping Kirby Voorhees, he sticks around with us. I'm hoping, Leo and them, like they pay attention, like, okay, we still have good opportunity here in Palouse. So there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to hope at least those running backs, the three that Woods or Polano, Leo, like one of those two. Voorhees, I could see him as a guy that goes to that next level again, takes that next step. He looks really strong. But we've got more money behind us, right? So, I mean, does that keep him around? I hope so, because he was a figurehead in that offense. But Jimmy's going to want that for his offense this next season.
I know. You're right.
We're going up against a $1.5 million payroll.
Damn.
Think about that.
See.
Digest it.
How much was it?
13.5.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, I mean, there was an interview too it was Iowa State's AD. I'm forgetting his name. It's who Rogers was cheating on us with for months during the season. But he was just saying, I mean, it makes total sense why he made the move. I mean, you can't compete with a $2.5 million payroll. It's a lot easier to compete with 13.5. So I just thought it was super interesting.
Yeah.
Money talks, man. Money talks. But
Yeah.
Cougar Carlson, who are some guys I'd love to get your thoughts on? It doesn't have to be just defense. Give me some guys in the class, offense, defense. You want to stick around.
So I can go certainly in the recruiting class, but I'm going to go exactly with what Joel has already said, which is Isaac Terrell and Voorhees. I want to be clear on at least Isaac Terrell. This is a guy that I think could easily play at the next level.
Yeah.
And he could play anywhere across the defensive line, in my opinion. All he needs to do is bulk up. But at the same time, you got someone like Voorhees who really had an inconsistent offensive line throughout the season and still was able to accomplish all that he was able to accomplish this year. I think it says a lot about who he is as a running back. But I think certainly as I look into the recruiting class, and I have my notes up here, I want to look at the offensive line here. So for me, I'm looking at Kingston Fotu Ali out of O'Day. He's my number one. That's my target. One is that he is from O'Day, which is a prominent program in the state of Washington and is always competing for the championship. But he's an offensive hoss at 6'3", 290 already, and we need that. We need guys on the front line and in the trenches that can win the game for us, whether that's on offense or defense. And then on the defensive side, I like this kid, Jake Jones, out of Gilbert, Arizona. So these are two guys that I've identified that I think are going to be instrumental in the incoming class that I don't think we can afford to lose. So
what do you got, Gav?
Almost forgot. So for retaining players, Kirby Voorhees is going to be so tough because he's a Jimmy guy. He's been a Jimmy guy. I think one that you're a little fresher on in the running back class is Maxwell Woods. and Leo Pulalasi. And if you can even just retain those two and start anew with those guys, I think you have something going on. But yeah, if you can get Kirby Voorhees like that, that's the bar setter. Like that guy, I think he's going to play on Sundays somewhere, sometime. And if it's just one game, it's just one game. But I could see that guy getting some time at the next level at some point. So Voorhees is at the top of my list. However, realistically, I'd like to get Maxwell Woods and Leo Pulalasi and at least be able to move forward with 2 out of the 3. On defense, yeah, Isaac Terrell's at the top of my list too. I know I'm a broken record here. But if there's any way, and I know this is another Midwest guy, he committed to South Dakota State, but if there is any way that you can get Anthony Polano back, that is the top guy I want. Like as a freshman, the guy was killing it. That guy is 100% going to be first or second round, barring any injuries. I don't care where he's coming. He can go back to South Dakota State. He'll be a first or second rounder. That guy's going to be amazing.
He'll be our next Parker McKenna. That's how I see it already.
Yeah, well, he's Parker McKenna already. Like that's what's crazy.
Yeah,
he is already there. And he's got more trajectory, and he's doing it at 19, 20 years old. So he's at the top of my list for that. However, I guess from a more realistic standpoint, maybe trying to get one of the Jackson Lambs or somebody else that could potentially go just because they fell in love with the defense that Jimmy brought. I think if you can get any of those guys and then also retain Parker McKenna as a coach, if he's not playing anywhere, getting some of that, getting some of that back in, like we talked about Angel Johnson, would love to retain him as a coach. Even though he's probably got good ties with Jimmy, he might go off that direction. From the class, I'll stick with the running backs. One of my favorites in this class, and he's out of New Orleans, Edna Carr High School, Trey Garrison. This running back, I pulled up. If you guys check out the video that I did of the top 5 commits that we had, he was on there, and that guy is incredible. I think as a freshman, he'll be playing, and he'll do some damage as a freshman. I really like Trey Garrison. The other one that I really like, is, and it pains me to say it because he's good and he's from Nevada, but there's a good chance he's a Jimmy guy. Brady Hummel. He was an incredible safety. He reminds me a lot of Tucker Large. And I think he's going to come right in and be exactly that within his first 2 years. But those are the 2 guys that I'd like to see retained. One on offense, one on defense.
I like it. And for me, I think the most important thing, especially when it comes to developing a position in college sports or just football in general, is always offensive line. And I look at our tackles. I feel like our tackles are pretty solid with Hilborn and Tripp. I would love if I was set, if I had picked 2 guys on our offense just to hold on to and continue to build off of. I'm probably going to go in the trenches when it comes to offense. I feel like a running back role, I would love to keep at least one of those 3 running backs. That would be ideal in any kind of situation. I think what we'll see though, guys, is especially it's just going to become more and more norm, and people are starting to call it the free agency of college now. So these guys are going back into a portal to collect a bigger paycheck and make more. So luckily we have those funds. Cantwell talking about $5 million behind NIL and our football program, more dedication, I think, really to sports because they see long-term when it comes to admissions, bringing more students in, just the overall health of the university. It's vital. So I don't know about you guys. Like when I saw that video come out from Cantwell, I took a huge deep breath and said, thank God. But somebody, give me your thoughts from really what Cantwell's done really to step up, get a good hire quickly with our interim AD. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts and really just overall thoughts too on the program. Just kind of open mic right now before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
Before that, I think one person we should mention the retaining is Tony Freeman. I think that's a huge miss, especially for the receiving core.
Good.
And mentioning, and I think one thing we have to look at too from the players is look where, like when they came from when they came from South Dakota, Wazoo, like we were pretty depleted, right? We needed people. Iowa State's not depleted. I've been looking at their numbers. They've got their top two their number one running back's a junior, almost rushed for 1,000 yards this season. Their backup rushed for almost 600 yards. He's a junior. So they're stout there. I don't think
it's a domino effect. They're going to Penn State. I mean, you follow your coach. That tends to be just how things are going these days. I mean,
I think
you'd have to imagine that.
But Penn State's got some of the best running backs in the country. They've had that year in, year out. I'm just saying, unless they go to Virginia Tech, which would be a downgrade.
You just answered your own question.
I don't know.
Because you believe in the coach, and as long as you're making the same amount of money, a lot of times we've witnessed it. There's no allegiance to colors anymore.
Yeah,
I just think our team this year was very senior driven, and I think there's a lot more opportunity for guys to play. And so, keeping Tony Freeman, I think, should be a top priority, especially for our receivers, losing quite a few or losing Meredith. And then obviously we talked about it, Leo Pulasi, that's a guy out of Lakewood. Definitely keep him. Maxwell Woods, they're kind of the same back, but a little bit different. I think they'd be a great 1-2 punch. If Voorhees stays, then you have a 3-headed monster, which is phenomenal. It gives you time for Kirby to develop those running backs coming in this next class. And then defensively, it's a broken record, but Isaac Terrell, that guy is an anchor. You need the guys in the trenches. Chad, you mentioned on offensive line. You need those guys in the trenches. And from what we've seen kind of just with new coaches and new regimes, the hardest position to essentially reload is your offensive line. So if you can retain guys today and pick some guys up from the portal or find some hogs, maybe Kirby's got a couple hogs that we're going to go to Mizzou, he can bring out to the Palouse and try to fast track that rebuild. We put ourselves in a good position because we're going to need the running game getting into this new Pac-12.
I'll drink to calling our offensive linemen hogs. I love that.
Especially because we don't have a quarterback right now. So we need the running game. And then defensively, I want Isaac Terrell. Schlemmer would be great. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. And then obviously I would like to see Max Balloon come back here though. Again, the defensive core over at Iowa is they're very young. It's a very young team. So if they don't leave, it's again, hey, you walk in, you start, see what happens. So we'll see.
I'm glad you highlighted though that, Gavin. Jeffrey Bowen, appreciate that. Luke Falk, Gavin, you mentioned something too about bringing Parker McKenna back on staff, and I love this comment too on Luke Falk. And when he raised his hand, I got pretty excited. I was an equip manager back in the day, and Mike Leach's first recruiting class, Luke Falk came in the door, and I always loved just how he presented himself, how he went about his business. I think what we need to learn as Cougs, and you see this even in like organizations too, is like you got to continue to develop within. So I know some comments I know from past players, alumni, being more more involved in the program, having more ex-Cougs coaching and developing within, so we have an easy next man up mentality when it comes to internal coaches.
Yeah, I'll double down on that and just say, he was my dark horse. I don't think he was actually going to be a finalist for the job, but I wanted somebody that wanted the job more than anybody else, and it was clearly him. There was nobody else that put out a statement like that saying, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I don't care about my coaching experience, which a lot of people didn't know this about him, but he actually coached at smaller Division II school in North Carolina, Wingate, where he was a quarterback's coach and also an offensive coordinator, and he did well. Wingate's a really good program. Even at the Division II level, they would put some FCS schools in the dirt. And then he went to UNI, which is a credible FCS program. Oh, yeah. He was the offensive coordinator before he had some some family things pop up and he had to take a leave. But I mean, he had made that step. So obviously he's on a very good trajectory coaching wise. He wants to be back in Pullman. Yes, I think Jeffrey, you nail on the head. He needs to come back and work as a quarterback's coach or an assistant offensive coordinator of some sort. But he needs to be back, because I think the juices need to be flowing, and we need to be going on all four cylinders. And he is one of the keys to that, in my opinion.
I think his voice would be important for recruiting, but yeah, we'll throw that
recruiting as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would be an excellent voice. I certainly got wind of him wanting to put his name in the ring prior to this going out on social media. I also got wind, I will say this, last Sunday I got a text message that said it's Kirby Moore through one of our social media channels from an anonymous fan out of Prosser. And basically they said it's Kirby Moore. And then by Friday it was Kirby Moore. I'm like, where's the proof so that we could post it first, right? But nevertheless, as far as Luke Falk is concerned, I think he'd be a great addition to the staff. But we have to consider the likes of someone maybe even as such as Peyton Pelluer as well, right? Like, how do we get other Cougs in here? Jahad Woods is obviously a coach. You know, we have a lot of Cougs that are still in the coaching, scene around the entire country. And obviously with Peyton Pelluer both coaching at the college level, but also on the West Side at Skyline as the head coach. Why wouldn't we want him on our defensive staff to be able to assist in that capacity?
Very curious on Peyton, because I know guys that rise to a head coaching level, unless it's the D coordinator at the college level, or unless it's at a certain level, sometimes maybe that plays a factor. But I think for the most part, if there's a way that he can get paid a good amount and be on campus, I can't see him saying no. No doubt about it. And us not retaining Jahad Woods after last year, I know Jimmy's got his guys and the defense was very good this past year, but not retaining Jahad Woods was an L in my opinion. So yes, getting Jahad Woods back in the fold is 100% needed. That's a need.
Yeah. And Chad, I know we got off topic from what your question was. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
No, I was saying, but like talking through that, not exactly a Coug, but a very close ties just across the border. Mike Iupati, I think, is definitely a guy we need to bring back in, just because he has the American Samoa pipeline, along with he's got that pro connection, and he I think he's a Pacific Northwest guy. I think that's someone who, and I think he did a really good job. Again, he probably had the most depleted, staff or depleted core of players on this team, and still did a really good job with what he had. So I think that's a guy that I would love to bring back, just, based on just some of the, responses and answers you guys just provided. Similarly, not as a Coug, but damn near close.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that can happen over the next month. I mean, the portal opens up January 2nd, right? We need a QB. That's official. We'll have no QBs on the roster, most likely. I think we have Potter, and then maybe one more other player. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be looking up and down the roster and holes to fill. But I think we'll quickly understand that this is going to become a normal thing. And I think we'll be fine, because historically, you just look at it, if you're a incoming player in the portal and you're not going to be getting that huge paycheck, but you're looking for what? Opportunity. And WSU is the place for opportunity when it comes to getting that playing time, getting well coached, and ready for that next level. If that's going to the Power Four, getting a bigger paycheck, or going to the NFL. We've seen it. So I'm feeling pretty good about January 2nd when that rolls around. I know one more player. I know I didn't mention just our recruiting class, but I know Hudson Kirkland, our Kurland, I believe his last name. Yeah. Out of Lake Oswego. Just looking at his tape, especially this last senior year, gosh, he throws such a great ball, great arm, really talented guy. Can move actually really well in the pocket. So I'd like to see really, how that would work. And also too, it's just from a recruiting perspective, making sure you have that freshman incoming QB, because the next 2 years, most likely we're going to be looking at a transfer guy. So we want to be able to groom behind. So Hudson would be an awesome, I think, retainer as well. Steve Sperry.
I do want to pose a question to you guys. With Kirby Moore heading over, does anybody have any inkling? Because I'm out of the loop on this. Does anybody have any inkling on who we would like to see as like the D coordinator or OC? I know we talked a little bit about who the potential OC could be and how we could save a few bucks there. But anybody have any thoughts on who they'd like to see at the coordinator levels?
I think I kind of just go back to like, how can we get more WSU roots, more WSU ex players into the fold? Think of like Chris Jackson, who's the receivers coach at Texas. Like, you want to come up here and be the O coordinator, take that next step. I think that might make a lot of sense. I know there's 3 guys on that Texas staff, special teams coordinator, Banks, and you also have Nansen, co-defensive coordinator. So I'd be calling all 3 of those and see which one wants to come to Pullman. I think them really understanding the NIL landscape from big dogs. Now it's just a matter of, is that something they want in their career? I think somebody like Chris Jackson out of those 3, like getting a coordinator job, I think that's somebody you can probably pull to Pullman. And judging by what Ryan Leaf had said in a tweet, I believe about a week ago, that there was somebody on his team at one time that wants to be the head coach. And I think he was alluding to Chris Jackson, but maybe I'm wrong.
I love Nansen, especially right now as a co-D coordinator at Texas. I mean, and right now, I think I was looking at Jackson and Nansen are making about they're making about $850 right now. So again, with some more money, we could pay, we could definitely increase that for could we pay $1 million or maybe 1.1 for, a D coordinator? Especially now, I'm assuming Kirby's going to be he's got to be at least 2. I'd be shocked if he's not, if he's anything beneath that. But Nansen again, a coup, Chris Jackson, a coup. You could bring them in as offense and D coordinator. Nansen's again got that American Samoa tie. I think that'd be a slam dunk. And you're bringing in some SEC. Yeah, they're in the SEC now. Some SEC pedigrees, right? You're bringing it from Kirby Moore. I mean, to me, that is, and again, from a recruiting standpoint, like that, I think that's big, right? So there's definitely some cougs out there that could definitely fit the bill for that.
Yeah. I like Mike's comment. I don't know if Gavin, if you want to pop that up. Steve Broussard is running back coach. Love that. Steve Broussard, great coug. He was actually our running backs coach 2007 through 2009. So just when I was stepping on campus, he was stepping off. But so it looks like he's actually at Cal Poly currently as their running backs coach. Love to have him back in the fold. Yeah, why not? I more familiarity, the better when it comes to, I think, just from a recruiting perspective, them just seeing like the true, I think, core of Pullman and WSU, nothing better than people that have lived it. So
I did want to also just mention, we talked about the transfer portal right around the corner and everything. And obviously we got a bowl game and we're going to be talking about that probably later this week. We're still very much excited for it. And just to see kind of, what cougs are around. We got, I think, 28 seniors that are probably ready to kill somebody right now.
Right.
So we're going to have a dogfight.
I hope so, man.
Week, and we're ready for it. But getting into this transfer portal and Kirby Moore, I guess, what are you guys' thoughts? Cougar Carlson, we'll toss over to you first. What are your thoughts on, if we can't retain a whole lot of these guys, do you think Kirby Moore is the type of guy that can go get what we need in the transfer portal with his pedigree?
Yeah, I certainly do. On the offensive side, I still think it comes down to defense. Like, how do we establish that defensive coordinator role right away and get out kind of like in the trenches of recruiting with who that is? And if he establishes that first, I certainly think that we could make some hedgeway with that. But I think that he's got everything he needs. He's coached under Coach Peterson, played under him. He's coached under Caleb Nabor. His dad was a legend in the state of Washington as a high school football coach. I mean, and he's coached at Mizzou for 3 years. How do you not want to play for this dynamic play caller that's literally been through it all? And on top of that, his brother's a head coach of the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, I mean, he's got everything.
Yeah, I like the thought too of just the local recruiting. I feel like it's something we've really swung and missed on year over year. We've done a good job at bringing in good classes. I mean, this last year, before the changes, I mean, we finished 60 overall, which was actually, I think, above average for us for a recruiting class. So it's not always about the stars too, right? It's about getting guys that want to be developed and having the coaches that can develop, right? And I feel like
I got a lot of rating right here. Anthony Polano was, I think, a 78 out of high school on 24/7, which their rankings may not be perfect, but I think they do a pretty good job. And they're free; like you can actually view them as of according to other ones. But yeah, Like you saw that guy come in. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like we've done a very good job developing. We've had a number 1 overall pick that ended up leaving us. We had another guy go to Oklahoma. He's going to be a potential first rounder, but probably next year. We've got some talent that have come through.
No doubt. Fellas, before we wrap it up, we're at the 35-minute mark. Just any final thoughts on just this recruiting class, this current team? Just give me your final closing thoughts before we wrap it up.
Sure. I'll say this. You would start to ask one question, Chad. I know we all jumped around and got excited. I think John Harlow actually stuck to his word of what he shared. There were some what I thought was like non-answers in the interview with him, but overall, he's like, right away, we're going to get this head coach. And he said that his focus was first and foremost, like where they're at right now, performing well in the bowl for the seniors. So everything seems like it's going that direction. And so I'm kind of curious, I know we're going to talk the bowl game our next episode, but I'm curious what the coaching staff's going to look like specifically for the bowl game. That's something that, I would like to see and dig into. He left it as a question mark as well with Jesse, with a whole Bobbitt on whether or not he was going to be, still in town. It felt like that, for the bowl game. To his understanding, he's committed to finishing out the season for these seniors. And so I think that'll make a difference as well for us when it comes to whether or not people jump into the transfer portal. It's like how are the seniors treated, and then that'll reflect what's going to happen to those that are following them. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, it gives me hope.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was going to kind of just follow up really with some finishing thoughts. I know we've talked so much about Kirby Moore, everything that he can do, but I really want to give a lot of credit. I know Harlow's been at the focus because he's the interim AD. President Cantwell, you can tell by the way she communicates, by the way she delivers her messages, is a visionary leader with a clear path on what it is that Washington State needs. And this has been lacking in leadership for years. And this woman knows how to lead. And I am so proud to call her our president. And I just think that everything she's done in making sure that we get to where we need to go, obviously she fired Ann McCoy earlier this year or just a month or two ago. But I know that was a tough decision. We all liked Ann McCoy, but I think it was a good decision because it came down to fundraising. And I have some insight on the fact that basically what happened with Jimmy Rogers was he went to the likes of President Schultz and Ann McCoy and said, where's the money? Where's the fundraising? Where are we getting with this? And he had been met with resistance from both of them around what was going on with fundraising. So that's, a conversation I've certainly had. So, Cantwell is just a breath of fresh air for what Washington State needs.
Yeah, awesome voice. She's the voice that we've needed for quite some time. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I know I mentioned it earlier too. I think we're going in the right direction. There's a lot of momentum, I think, now. We have the right people in place. Our collective leaders are great. Our administration is you can finally say it's great. We're in a good spot. I hope our interim AD gets an opportunity. But yeah, hey, Cougs, if you're excited about this momentum like I am, if you feel bad when the Cougs lose or we lose out on a recruit and you want to help improve that, there's one easy way, simple payment of $18.90 a month to your Cougar Collective can help support the cause, baby. So, but it's the nice thing too is I don't feel like I'm not begging anymore, and I feel like it felt so good hearing that from Cantwell because now it's finally met 50-50. The university is finally pitching in on it's a game. Cantwell said it. She called it a game, and that's what it is. And sometimes you got to play the game if you want to win, right? Yep. So it's nice that we're falling within the confines of the rules, and we're
as
doing
a Mariners fan.
As fans.
As a Mariners fan, I think we can all agree it's time. Thank you for saying that. We needed this because we're met with so much resistance financially from everywhere we look. By the way, I forgot. I haven't done this meme yet. Just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, let's go. No. Let's go.
We had to hit all.
All right, you knuckleheads. Cougar Nation, it's been a fun time. We're excited about Kirby Moore. Let's go. Let's see what this next bowl game goes, how it goes for us. I'm feeling really good against Utah State. We'll be going live and announcing when we do that. But hey, win or lose, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.